Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We have a story here that seems destined to run and run, and it's the Lisa Cameron issue. Obviously, she crossed the House the other day over what claims of bullying and a toxic culture, and then within days had to move out of the family home, take her children, and run basically because of the threats that she had and people coming to the house and it was a very sort of upsetting experience, and she didn't want to risk the health and safety of her children from the thugs of the SNP. And now it's taken a far darker turn. She's actually had to shut her constituency office after receiving death threats from the SNP supporters. And what's telling is that no one in the SNP is standing up and condemning this. No one from the SNP has officially said anything about this being wrong or that it shouldn't happen. These jackbooted brown shirt thugs of the SNP feel free and able to go and do this and make death threats. Have the police been called? Well, it's worse than that. She's given it to the parliamentary authorities, and things like this tend to get given to special branch. Which means that the perpetrators of this may find themselves in a lot more trouble than they think, because this isn't going to Police Scotland. This is going to a branch of the police over which the SNP have got no control whatsoever. Anyway, we'll have a look and see why it's so bad for Lisa Cameron. So, Lisa Cameron MP forced to shut constituency office after receiving death threats for defecting from the SNP. The East Kilbride, Straven and Lesmahago MP has told staff to work from home this week after she received a horrifying death threat through emails. Now, this is typical, I think, of the SNP thuggery. They don't allow anyone to have anything. It's total control. It's threats of all sorts of physicality against you, your family. Now, this reminds you of someone? Does this remind you of, say, Germany in the 30s, and when you didn't comply with the one-party state, they sent round the bother boys, the big boys in the jackboots and the brown shirts, to make sure that you understood where your liabilities, your loyalties lay. And how dare you leave the party? And that's what you've got now. This has been sort of festering for a long time under the surface. And it's exactly the sort of thing that Sturgeon has promoted her entire time as leader. This kind of extremism, this hate-driven, disgusting, really. It's an absolutely disgusting way. It makes me think that the SNP is little more now than a tourist organisation. And it needs to be put on the register. It really does. Needs to be a banned, outlawed party, in the same way as it did for Action Direct, Red Army Faction, Britain First, things like that. They were put on this list of extremists and were treated as illegal organisations. I think the SNP definitely needs now to be on that list. Anyway, new Scottish Tory MP who shocked the UK by defecting from the SNP has been forced to close her constituency office after she received a death threat. Dr. Lisa Cameron has been subjected to nasty abuse from nationalists. After quitting the party, she accused of ostracising her due to her speaking out against sex pest MP Patrick Grady, the toucher-upper of other people's children, half man, half thumb. Standing up for the victim is not the SNP way, of course. The SNP way is to absorb and protect the perpetrators, the peds, the predators, the pervs, all the nasty little P's that are in the party. That's what the P stands for, isn't it? Anyway, now it has been revealed that she was sent a horrifying email, which has now been sent to the parliamentary authorities, and it has resulted in her closing her constituency office in Straven, Lanarkshire, and telling her 5 members of staff to stay away. Now, the thing is, by going to the parliamentary authorities directly rather than going to Police Scotland, it's a far more serious matter. They, of course, are protected by a whole different set of policing. They're not protected by the Metropolitan Police or any force like that. They come under the auspices of Special Branch, who are basically anti-tourist group, amongst other things that they do. But one of the things they are also charged with is the protection of things like this, the protection against the attacks on democracy and things. They are a specialist unit. And so now if they get involved, which they will do, the Parliamentary Authority will get them involved. They will go and investigate this. Now, they have got way more powers than any normal police force. They can get all sorts of access that other police forces may have to apply separately for. They are, like, seriously, they are the FBI, if you will. And there's no messing with them. And the thing is, the SNP do not have any control over them. They can't sit there and have a quiet word over drinks. That's not how Special Branch works. It is technically, Special Branch is part of the of the intelligence network. Although it's a part of the police, it's that linkage between police and the intelligence forces. It's sort of the halfway mark, and you don't screw with Special Branch. And if they're investigating, let me tell you that you'll have GCHQ. You'll have GCHQ working out exactly where that email come from. Someone will get arrested. Someone will be finding themselves up in front of a very serious charge. Anyway, the Scottish Mail revealed the contents of one email, which was sent to Dr. Cameron on Saturday. This contained an abusive slang term and read, "Listen, your time living on this earth will come to an end soon. Be careful." And then where that ... is, it'll be you, and it'll be a word, probably the C word or something, because that's the limit of these people, isn't it? Anyway, it was passed on to the Parliamentary Security Department at Westminster, aka Special Branch. Dr. Cameron has already moved away from her East Kilbride home because of concerns about the level of abuse aimed at her so far. Her staff will work remotely this week until all risk is managed. And by that, they mean until the perpetrator of this has been caught and educated. That's the other thing that happens. I happen to know personally. Not me at the receiving end of it. People I know. There's a lot of education, put it that way. Because they don't work strictly with inside the law. Special Branch, people fall over. They deal with a lot of clumsy people, put it that way. Anyway, previously, the East Kilbride, Straven and Lesmago MP threatened to quit her seat and call a by-election if she was deselected by the SNP, but ended up crossing the constitutional divide and joining the Tories. In a damning indictment on the Nats, she compared the party to a cult where critics are ignored. I compare them to the National Socialists of Germany because they behave in exactly the same way. And have the same ideals now. It's quite clear that the SNP are wanting, by supporting Hamas, are also wanting to see the eradication of Jews from the planet. So very much in keeping with the 1930s National Socialists of Germany. Not surprising when you consider who their leader is. She added that she was subjected to threats after making this decision, and these showed where the political discourse has got to in Scotland. Yeah, thuggery. Basically that. It's thuggery. Because if you disagree with them, they come around and guff you up. That's the SNP way, though, isn't it? Because the only people that support them now are the thugs. Genuinely normal people, decent people, don't support the SNP. She said she felt isolated within the SNP's Westminster group and that there was a lot of fear and intimidation. The MP claimed that this was intensified after she defended the teenage victim of sex pest MP Mr. Patrick Grady, the toucher-upper of other people's children, and half thumb. While the rest of the group rallied around Grady despite him making unwanted sexual advances towards a staffer. She also said she was prescribed antidepressants and received counselling as a result of the treatment she claims to have received during her time in the party, and no one doubts it. Her claims were disputed by a senior member of the Scottish Government. I say senior, she's the Saturday girl, Mary McCallan, who said she didn't believe that she'd had all these problems, blah, blah, blah. But again, that's just more typical sort of psychopathy, sociopathy that's assigned to the people in the SNP. They're all pretty bad, aren't they? And to treat someone like this, to offer death threats because she joined another party, goes to show the depths to which this party have sunk. And I don't believe they've reached bottom yet. I think there's more to go. I think they'll get worse. But it is telling that not one single member of the SNP has spoken out against the death threats that this woman has received. Tells you all you need to know about them, really, doesn't it? Nasty bunch. Anyway, I shall round off and come up. Does make you wonder how soon before, they start building the camps, doesn't it? Start imprisoning people in these camps. And under Hamza Yousaf, you'd wonder how many of them are Jews. That's the direction of the party, though, isn't it? When you look, the comparisons between now in Scotland and the early 30s in Germany, it's frighteningly close. And it's no wonder they want independence, isn't it? Next thing you know, they'll be building up their air force, their Luftwaffe, rather, we should call it. The Abwehr, that'll be coming up, They'll be getting hold of Hugo Boss's very nice uniforms. That's the direction of travel, I'm afraid, for the SNP. People will probably say, oh, don't be silly, don't be stupid. But the evidence is there. One only has to look. The demand for total one-party state, the demand for complete obedience to the party, no gainsaying, no leaving. They're sending, very physical men round to your house if you do anything or say anything against them. And led by a man who's supports Hamas, who want to eradicate Jews. Tell me it's not like 1930s Germany. Anyway, so leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. We do wish Lisa Cameron the best of luck and hope that that Special Branch catch this little sad tosser, probably living with his mother, because no real men really supporting the SNP, isn't it? It's all little sad men living with mummy, sending bad messages because they think they're hard. Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, the SNP are not nice people at all. Bye.